5 questions, take 0.
Question number 1. What is your secret to sales success?
My secret to sales success. That's a good question. That's an easy one. Number 1, don't sell. One of the things that John will tell you, our director of business development, he'll tell you about me is I don't prepare for sales presentations. Literally, he will send me when we have a sales meeting or I'm doing like an engineering support call with a client or a potential client. John will literally give me 5 bullet points just to let me know who are they, what do they do, and what's their biggest problem. I go into every sales presentation trying to figure out if I want to work with you. I'm not trying to convince you to work with us. What I'm trying to convince you to do is to use the technologies that we're talking about. At the end of the day, I want you to help us serve our mission, which is to help save and create middle-class jobs. And I don't think you can do that unless you use these technologies. I know you're going to fail long-term in the market if you don't use these technologies. So what is my secret to sales success? I don't sell. As ridiculous as that sounds, I don't. What I do is I go in talking about the things I truly believe, and I am truly myself. And that resonates. No one wants to be sold to. I mean, no one likes going to a car dealership because some guy comes up acting all nice to you simply because he wants you to spend money so he gets a commission. That makes people feel dirty, okay? I don't sell to anyone. And that's my secret.
Question number 2. What is your millionaire morning routine?
What is my millionaire morning routine? This is a very good question. I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. The first thing I do is I go on Medium, which is one of my favorite platforms, and I look to see any updates, posts at 4 a.m. From about 4 to 4:30, I get updated on the daily news. I read the New York Post, I read Medium, I go through all my Reddit, the subs that I subscribe to, and then I do my Bible study. From 4:30 to 5 in the morning, I take my shower, I'll do my first walk of the day. I have this Fitbit. Part of our healthcare plan is I've got 3 goals every day I gotta hit, so I do my first walk of the day between 4:30 and 5, and then I work from 5 a.m. till about 8 o'clock answering emails and prepping for all of my meetings. So I'll go through all of my calendar, and I'll open up my OneNote, and I'll set up all of the notes for my meetings for the whole day. I won't do that right when the meeting starts. I do it before I even head to the office. At 8 o'clock, I'll have breakfast with my youngest son, and then when he leaves for work, I either go back to my desk and work from home, or I come here into the office, and then I develop all day long. But my morning routine starts at 4 and ends at about 8 a.m. And it includes exercise for the mind, exercise for the body, exercise for the heart, and prepping for my day.
Question number 3. What is onboarding like at Intellic?
What is onboarding like at Intellic? So I'm going to frame this within what is it like to be here in your first 90 days. Our new employees that are here, they're probably better to ask that question to, but I've been meeting with them frequently, and I've been asking them for their feedback. So everybody who joins Intellic starts out going through step 1 training. So on day 1, before day 1, they're going to get a training deck that they've got to get through. So step 1 training includes all of their initial technical training, all of their HR training, all that kind of stuff. Generally takes about 6 weeks to complete all that, get all their credentials, get all of their certifications, and take all of their first exams. About in week 2 is when they'll be introduced to their first project. So every person who comes on board at Intellic is going to get a mentor, and that mentor is what sets their agenda for every day. That mentor is generally either a mid-level engineer or senior engineer, who they're basically, their job is to get them up to speed in the first 90 days. I would say that for the most part in the first month to 6 weeks, it's like drinking water out of a fire hose. We're essentially retraining the way people think. When I ask, it's funny, we asked this question this morning. I try to do a 15-minute meeting with all of the new hires every week or every other week for the first 3 or 4 months. So today I actually had those 15-minute meetings. So I had back-to-back 15-minute meetings from like 9:30 all the way to 11 o'clock with all the new hires, and I asked them basically 3 questions. How are things going? Question mark. How is your training going? Question mark. And what is your feedback for us? And I ended that question, hey, what can I be doing, or what can your mentor be doing to help you be more successful? I'll ask them how's it going? I'm asking them on a scale of 1 to 5, how happy are you that you made the decision to come join our company? So the first 90 days at Intellic is based on the feedback from all of our new hires. It's overwhelming. It's rewarding, it's intense, but I think everyone loves it. I mean, in fact, everyone gave us really, really high scores today. So one of the most common things that was said this morning in those meetings was, I'm used to being the smartest person. I'm used to being the person who everyone went to for their problems and to get their problems answered. And here, I feel like I'm new. I feel like you guys do things so differently. I'm like learning my job all over again. That was one of the really common comments that I got today, actually. And most of the people that I met with today, most of the new hires I met with today have been here. We had one that's been here for a couple of weeks, but most of them have been here a couple of months.
Question number 4 is, how do you evaluate your investments?
How do I personally evaluate my own investments? So when it comes to my stock investments, so let's say I'm not going to start a new company, or I've already got 42 companies, which is how many companies I own. So I've got 42 companies. How do I decide where I'm going to put my dollars and which businesses I'm going to invest in growing? Okay, I'll answer that question in a second. I'm going to answer the how do I invest my stock? So how do I decide which stocks to buy? Very easy. I take the exact same approach that Warren Buffett takes. Okay, I go with companies that have a plan, that have strong leadership. Leadership is very important. I want companies that have great leadership who hire the right people. And that's what Warren Buffett does. He basically says he is investing in the people in an organization just like I do. I do exactly the same thing. So if you look at the stocks that I've purchased, let's say in the last 2 weeks, all of them are in companies that have phenomenal leadership and great people. They hire the right people. All right, how do I decide I'm going to invest my capital? So at the end of the year, how much money did I take in and where am I going to route that money into? Which companies am I going to route that into? It's very easy. I route my money into the companies, A, that stand on their own. So do they need Walker to do everything all day long? And but by the way, when we spin up a new business, just like when we spun up Intellic, I have to be the person out front initially because it's my vision. But what you're really doing is hiring the right people. You're building great management structure so that business stands on its own. And then it's really just my vision, my strategic vision that's being applied to that organization. And I put the right people in charge, okay? At the end of the year, though, I'm investing in 2 things. Number 1, the companies that I've created that have the strongest leadership and the best people. And number 2, the companies that are gonna have the broadest social impact. If you want to know the investment that will yield the strongest social impact, that is how can I move the needle socially?
Like your investment in digital media.
Exactly. Why do we go and do this? What's the reason that we go and do this? And the answer is that we can broaden our impact on the industry through this media.
We have.
Yeah, we absolutely have. We've changed the way people think, and we've changed the way people approach their problems. Granted, but let's say if somebody else owned this company, if somebody else owned Intellic Integration, and their goal wasn't social consciousness and it wasn't moving the needle and changing the world, and let's say they were just looking at the P&L, they're just looking at the balance sheet quarterly, they would make the argument not to do this. The traditional chief executive is going to look at this and say, no, let's not do this because I'm giving away my secret sauce. My approach is a little different. I'm not a stupid business person, obviously, or I wouldn't own 42 companies and I wouldn't have the money I have. But the reality here is, and I believe this all the time, in integration, when I decided that we were going to train a couple of other integrators to do what we do. And our business development guy was like, are you crazy? Like, why would you do that? And there's an integrator in Indiana that we worked with, a big integrator actually, who's didn't work with Ignition at all, and we taught them how to do Ignition projects and taught them how to do MES solutions, primarily because there was no one in that area doing them, and we weren't going to open an office in Indiana. I wasn't going to spin up an office there and have people there for lots of reasons, most of them tax related. But our business development guy was like, why would you teach the competition how to do what we do? And my answer was, well, A, because I don't look at them as competition, I look at them as members of the same community. But let's make the business case for teaching other integrators how to do what you do. They didn't do it very well in the beginning. And so what it did was it actually created a whole new market. They went and made mistakes in their area, and then they needed help. Whether that help comes from us or it comes from somebody else in the space, what they've done is created opportunity in the market. They've created brand awareness. They've created all these things that we need in order for our businesses to be successful. So there is a business case for doing what we do. It's just a non-traditional business case. It is definitely based on my values, yes.
What was your biggest fear of creating digital content?
What was my biggest fear creating digital content? I didn't have any. I'm just not generally the fearful person. I really only have one fear, and that is that I'm gonna die before I've prepared my kids for the real world. But let's do what concerned me about shooting digital content. Because I prefer to be organic. I was concerned that I would not be able to translate the message in a way that people who don't think the way Intellic people think, the way you think, the way I think, in a way that they could consume it. That was definitely a concern. Number two, I was concerned that no one would care what our message was and what the impact of that would be on our team. I didn't have any fears though. I mean, when we originally started shooting the content, there was never, and I was never going to be in front of the camera. That was not supposed to be the deal. That all happened by accident. Once you threw me in front of the camera, that's kind of when everything actually, almost a year ago in front of this whiteboard, that's kind of when everything took off. So we stuck with it because it worked and we were getting the message out.
What is the goal of the mentorship program, or the online course?
So what is the goal of our online mentorship program? Okay, here's the goal and the mission. The goal and the mission, our mission is to help save and create middle-class jobs by helping U.S. manufacturers do more with less, by leveraging cutting-edge technology. I mean, that's basically our mission, right? Our mission is not to make as much money as we possibly can. That's not the goal. Our goal is our mission is to help save and create middle-class jobs. I want my life to mean more than money, okay? Intellic Integration and 4.0 Solutions and all my other companies are not gonna grow large enough for me to hire the whole army of engineers that I would need to have the type of impact that I want to have on manufacturing in the US. So the goal of the online mentorship program is to essentially train that army to go do that for themselves. That's the goal. The goal is we know what works, and let's teach people what works so that they will go and use those methodologies. And why are we doing that? The answer is because there are a lot of people who are trying to do enterprise class solutions. They're trying to do digital transformation. They are trying to migrate from one-to-ware to Ignition to Factory Studio, all that kind of stuff. And there are a lot who are failing. And they're failing not because they're not smart. They're failing because they don't have the right tool set. And so the goal of the online mentorship program is to create that army by taking you through the training program you would go through if you worked here.
How is it different than the free content on YouTube? And who is the program designed for?
So the program is designed for the engineer. So whether that engineer is a systems integrator or whether you're a plant engineer or a manufacturing engineer or whatever, the goal of that mentorship is to train the engineering soldiers. The content we put on YouTube and LinkedIn is to a broader audience. The goal of our content on LinkedIn and YouTube is to shape the conversation and give the conversation contour. But it's not about the nuts and bolts. We've tried the nuts and bolts, by the way. We've tried to do the nuts and bolts in LinkedIn and YouTube, and it's too hard. The reason that we want to do this mentorship program and have it be a very inexpensively paid program is so that it's community supported, so that community can drive that conversation. And so the idea here is to help us serve the community as much as we possibly can. And that's really how it's different. The YouTube content, the LinkedIn content is about giving the conversation contour. The online content for the mentorship is about channeling engineers, creating soldiers. That's what that program is about. We're not creating soldiers with our YouTube and LinkedIn content.